These sorts of analogies, these metaphors, whether they're in language or design or art, are really the way that we think about the world and the way that we project our thoughts about the world into other people's minds. In that way, those analogies, those metaphors are that we see in design are our culture itself. Shifting analogies is perhaps the definition of innovation in this case, in our case today. That when you take something and you think about it in a new way, you shift the metaphor in your head, it starts to take on interesting and exciting new qualities, and we can take that and run with it. So my question is, what would happen if we took the map of Europe and we scrubbed out all of the borders, the geographical borders, and we abandoned the current country names, and we abandoned all of that, and we said, right, let's redraw the map, but based on not geographical proximity, but proximity of other things, of social connection, of culture, of intellectual cooperation, of trade, of things that we have in common that are more tangible, sort of coffee we like, the sort of pastries we eat, whatever it is. We could never have done that before because we never had the data and we didn't have the ability to do it, to process that data even if we had it. But today we can. We have the social networks, we have Facebook, we have LinkedIn, we have the communications data, we have all of that stuff. It's possible to get to it. And we could take that data and we could look for real connections, and we might find that to all intents and purposes, London and Copenhagen and Berlin are really the same country. And we have a lot more in common with each other than we do with people who live in Cornwall, or Newcastle, or Wales. And maybe the Scots are actually Norwegians. And maybe the Swedes are actually Spanish. We don't know. But I think it's worth a think to try and understand how we actually group ourselves together. If we're going to use an analogy to form boundaries against which we make all sorts of judgments, our economic policies, our cultural policies, our political decisions, then that grouping needs to be better than an accidental grouping based on some lines on a map drawn by people who are dead now. And so perhaps the analogy, the weird sort of metaphor of countries needs to be reinvented. Now, of course, countries themselves will always exist. We can get very, very excited about the over-connected, interconnected, super everybody's on Facebook, we're all one world now, future sort of scenario. But anybody who espouses that really doesn't travel enough. People are different, and there are groupings of people, but I believe that we're not grouping them in the right places. We've created these artificial boundaries through historical accident and not through a genuine understanding of allegiance.